It's the year 2021. NASA has worked together with the other space agencies to fund a mission to the only unseen planet in our solar system, Eris. Eris is a strange planet. It's more massive than Pluto. Eris is the key to why this mission is so important. Just like how planets revolve around stars, other stars sometimes revolve around one another, like two people engaging in a dance that lasts for billions of years. It's common to have two stars revolve around one another. The term is called a binary system, and our star, the Sun, might be in a binary system. There's a theory, the Nemesis theory, that there is another, smaller star in our solar system, which could account for mass extinctions like the dinosaurs, and why Pluto and Eris orbit so far out. The strange thing is, though, is just how far out Eris orbits away from the Sun. Almost as if it orbits two stars. The mission launched in 2012 with secret aerospace technology that the world has never seen before. Without that technology, it would take 18 years to get there. The technology cut it in half. Even more shocking, New Horizons, the probe that took photos of Pluto, was just an unmanned probe. The mission to Eris is manned with actual people. It's called Project Starstrike. It has 3 phases. The first, to photograph the planet Eris. The second, to establish if our Sun has a sister star by deploying a telescope around the orbit of Eris. Lastly, to land on Eris to collect samples. Now I know, sending 4 people alone to the deepest reaches of our solar system is dangerous, but understand this. This is a one-way trip. Each person on that ship has been found guilty and sentenced to death. Each one, though, has a background relating to the mission. Alva, a pilot who flew for the Air Force. Eric, who is a programmer. Lloyd, who is an exobiologist. And finally, we have Sid, who is an engineer. Together, the 4 embarked on a mission to the unknown, having only each other's skills to keep them alive. They are entering Eris's orbit now. Putting her down nice and easy into orbit, Alva said. You better do your part, Lloyd. When we land down there, it's your show now, Eric said. Lloyd, the exobiologist, hasn't had much to do during the trip. His role is to make and recover samples of Eris. Sure, he could use and set up the telescope and the cameras, but everyone could as well with their backgrounds. Once I get us into orbit, deploy the optics, Alva said as he was guiding the ship to orbit. Eric, Lloyd, and Sid all helped out with this task. Sure, it was easy as pressing a button, but this was huge. It's not every day you take a photo of the largest unseen body in the solar system.
It looks so beautiful,
Lloyd said.
To think we will be landing on that,
he said with a cheerful look. Alright, we're in orbit. Eric, you're the programmer. Calculate how long it will take us to complete one orbit around Eris, Alva said. Yes, sir, Eric replied. You see, Alva is the self-appointed leader of the group. But no one seems to mind. They got this far, and that was a testament to his leadership skills. Sid began to set up the various cameras. There were a bunch of different cameras to set up. They had some for wide-angle viewing, some took super close-up images of Eris's geography. Any type of photo you've seen before of another world, NASA had that type of camera on this ship. Alright everyone, it's set up, Sid told the group. Is that calculation done, Eric? Alva asked. It sure is. Time to complete one orbit is 9 hours, Eric informed him. Alva, being the good leader that he was, told everyone to go to sleep and let the cameras do their job. The next few hours after the orbit would prove to be quite exciting. The crew got 8 hours of sleep, waking up with just 1 hour left of its orbit around the planet. They were preparing for the second and third phase of their mission. All phases required the planet. The second phase, after photographing Eris, was to deploy the telescope that would orbit around Eris. It was like the Hubble, but smaller. Since it will be positioned so far out into the solar system, it could find other planets, as well as to see if the Nemesis theory is true. 3 crew members had very important roles for this. Alva would pilot the ship and use the orbit to get the telescope into position. Sid would release the telescope out into orbit, and Eric would get the telescope to boot up and take its first ever photos. The third phase was to land and collect samples of the surface. The samples would be used to see if the geology of Eris was similar to our planet's. All the samples could be analyzed on the planet. Then the signal would beam to the ship. Then the ship would beam it back to Earth. They were able to get the telescope in orbit. All that was left was to wait for it to come back from the dark side of the planet. Then it would have enough power to start its operations. After they were able to confirm the telescope would work, Alva began the ship's descent on the planet's surface. "Everybody hold on," he said to the crew. They eventually landed in the target zone. The target zone was where they had the best chance to find life. Lloyd was the first out onto the strange new world.
It's even more beautiful now that we're walking on it,
Lloyd said to the group. The team split up in twos. Lloyd and Sid stayed on the planet collecting samples, while Alva and Eric stayed on the ship to take photos with the telescope, as well as to beam any transmissions back to Earth.
I found something,
Lloyd said.
Alright, Eric, I'm beaming this data to you for analysis. What does it say?
It's a basic, single-cell organism. We did it. We found life, Eric said to the shocked group. Sid went off to the other end of the target zone to collect the other samples needed. It was more important now, because they found life, no matter how basic it was. 3 hours went by. Lloyd and Sid were getting low on oxygen, so Lloyd returned to the ship.
Where's Sid? Did he not get back on the ship?
Lloyd asked the others. Eric, you're the programmer. Find out where he is, Alva said. Eric was able to pinpoint where the signal came from and gained access to his channel. He heard nothing but static. He rewinded anything that could have played. That's when he found it. The whole crew heard it. They didn't know what that thing was, but whatever it wasn't good. The crew didn't dare go back outside. They were dead men anyway. It was best to just die of starvation out in space, than to die by whatever the hell that thing was on Eris. What was that? Alva said.
I think they're communicating,
Lloyd said. Everyone strap in. I'm not waiting here to find out what they said, Alva told the crew. The thrusters ignited. Just when they thought they could escape the planet, they hear what sounds like the ship being torn apart. The ship goes down. Alva dies due to the rough landing. All that remains are Eric and Lloyd. They quickly put on their spacesuits. I can't believe this. This is where it ends, Eric said.
Are the computer systems still online?
Lloyd asked. I can get them to work and beam back the data to Earth, Eric said. The two decide to complete the mission and to gather the data from the telescope. It should be back from the dark side of the planet, Eric said. The images came full screen.
We're not alone. And neither is the sun. The sun's sister star must have provided the planet with enough sunlight and ingredients to make life,
Lloyd said in disbelief. I'm setting up a camera in front of us. It will take photos every minute and beam it back to Earth, along with all the other photos and data we have gathered, Eric said. Just as Eric did that, all that remains of Project Starstrike are the photos and data they sent back to Earth. Among the data was a beautiful photo of Eris from a distance, proof of single-cell life. Another photo proving Nemesis is real and our sun does have a sister. Finally, a photo of what killed all those brave men. It wasn't the cold. It wasn't gamma rays. It was a creature made of Eris and cooked in the Nemesis starlight. When the government saw this, They immediately classified the data and the photos. Only the highest of authorities in the government are to know that we are not alone, and they are not friendly.